No, I think I am worried more about his bite than his bark. Here's a look at the brand new Super7 Toxic Crusaders Junkyard. Whether thwarting Dr. Killamov's plans to remove the elderly from the retirement home or saving Toxie and the rest of the Toxic Crusaders from Club Fred, Junkyard is one doggone good addition to the team. This 6.3-inch highly articulated Toxic Crusaders Ultimate figure of Junkyard is inspired by the vintage toy based on the early 90s animated series and comes with interchangeable heads and hands as well as multiple accessories. This made-to-order Toxic Crusaders Ultimate figure of Junkyard is ready to take a bite at a crime and take your place in honor of your Toxic Crusaders collection. Well, I think it's good that Toxie has him on his team, because this boy is bad to the bone. Of course, before we get a closer look at the new Super7 Toxic Crusaders Junkyard, I'm going to grab the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. I did actually find this one as well as Toxie over on Entertainment Earth. If you guys are interested and would like to start collecting the new Toxic Crusaders line from Super7, you can click the link down below in the video description. That same link as well will also save you 10% on anything that's currently in stock over on their site. Junkyard, though, stands about 6 3/4 of an inch in height, or the figure's going to be about 16.5 centimeters tall. Seeing as well that we were talking about Toxie, let's slide over the Junkyard that we're about to have a look at and bring in the earlier looked at Toxic Crusaders Toxie. In this case, Junkyard is going to be slightly smaller, but the build is about the same. Though, to be fair, Junkyard has a whole lot more fur. Now, the Toxic Crusader figures are more based around the 90s toy line that we got from Playmates Toys, and all of the accessories, or most of the accessories at least, that came included with Junkyard will be the ones that also came along with that 91 released toy. First, the figure comes included with interchangeable hands. Now, to be fair, these weren't really hands that came included with the initial run toy, but it's nice to always see that we get included hands from Super7. First, some punching fists are always nice to come included with any one of these figures, whether it's Toxie or it's Junkyard. And these, again, can be swapped out with the existing hands that he has right now. The figure has, as of right now, gripping hands on the ends of his forearms. If you prefer, though, to be clawing instead, then he also has these hands as well. Very meticulously painted. You can see each one of the individual nails on the ends of the fingers have all been painted well in black, while it looks like the rest of the hands themselves have been all cast in brown plastic. Then on to this territory here. Most, again, of all the accessories that came packed along with Junkyard were ones, in fact, that came along with the 91 release toy. First, the figure comes included with a rolled-up glowing newspaper. Now, initially looking at this, I thought it was just a board with a nail on the end of it, but it is in actual fact a glowing newspaper. I'm not sure how a nail really stays through newspaper, whether it's rolled up or not. But the neat thing about this one is it does actually glow in the dark. Take myself the black light just to run a few passes across it. Yeah, it does actually glow. It kind of glows kind of more of a, I guess, a greenish color. Mostly usually is the case when you get these glow-in-the-dark things that they're always usually like glowing in green. It's nice to see that. Now this does fit into his hand, or you can also attach it. In the original toy, though, now I'm going to pick this up also as well, the figure comes included with his anti-garbage gun. The original toy had something very similar to this, but I don't think it had the scope on the front of it. In the original toy, also, you could take the newspaper, and it could plug onto the end of the gun. I just happened to notice that there's a peg right there. I couldn't also help but notice that there is a hole right there. And you could, for all intents and purposes, attach this onto the end of it. Like I said, just attach the spike to the hole. The problem with it, though, is unlike the original toy, having a scope on the end of it kind of gets in the way of things, and you can't quite plug the newspaper in place. You can kind of get it in place, but it seems like the scope just wants to push it right off. So I'm probably just going to be leaving the two separately. Nicely detailed here and molded in more of a kind of glowing green plastic. It's actually, in fact, quite similar, in fact, to the accessories and the Toxic Crusader Tox that we got himself. And it's kind of that similar type of green. The figure as well comes included as well with his dog bone brainer. The names that they come up with these. About the same molding of plastic, same coloring at least. This one does have a dog bone, but has spikes on the end of it. You can imagine how much bludgeoning he could do with holding this in his hand. And then the last thing that he comes included, while still sticking to the color scheme of this plastic, the figure as well comes included with a slogan stick. The slogan happens to say, take a bite out of crime. And again, the original toy would have had all of these accessories. Any one of these, by the way, can be held in his hand. Now, I think with the original toy, you could either have it holding by the handle that's the bone, or you can also attach it by this piece here as well. Either way, no matter how you want to have it displayed, it just slides very easily into Junkyard's hands. And again, like the figure could be displayed with his anti-garbage gun in his one hand, and maybe what will take the braining bone, what was it called? The anti-dog bone brainer. There we go. That was the name of it. We're just going to go ahead and widen the hands just enough, and we can get the dog bone in his hand. And he pretty much has the means to hold all the accessories, but then you'll notice, like, once he holds really two, I mean, there's no other real place that you can attach the other accessories. Actually, what we'll do is just take the garbage gun out of his hand for right now. The figure as well comes also included with a belt. Now, the belt itself, I don't think was on the original toy. It's made of fairly soft plastic. You can see there on the front, I can't tell what exactly that is. It almost looks like it's a spider that's holding a spatula and a knife. It's a bit strange. It does, though, attach. There's a hole on the end of it. There's a peg right there. You just fit the two around and snap this in place. But it makes a lot more sense, obviously, to be doing that on the actual figure. So we'll just stretch the plastic around. It's pretty forgiving plastic. It's kind of more of that rubbery material. And then you'll stretch the two and connect them right in the middle. And now you got the belt in place. The belt stays pretty good in place as well. The only thing about it, though, is while you are moving, again, the figure's articulation that we'll talk more about in a moment, you really have to worry that that doesn't detach. While we're putting that right there, the figure as well comes also included with an interchangeable head sculpt. Now, this head sculpt with the tongue is actually more closer to the way the original Playmates Junkyard actually looked. Although I believe with the original figure, the mouth was hingeable. You could open and close it. But it still, though, had a tongue sticking out. And honestly, really between the two, I think it's my favorite of the two head sculpts. I mean, nothing really slouching on the original head sculpt. I really like the way they've sculpted the face. The teeth look great. And the additional purple and pink that they've added to the gums and lips all look really nice on Junkyard. But there's something to be said about the idea that the figure has a tongue sticking out. And again, because it kind of looks more like the original vintage toy, I'm probably more leaning to the idea of displaying the figure with the tongue sticking out myself. Popping out the head was actually a lot easier than I was expecting. Though when you are popping off the head, you'll notice that the color also is something that's removable as well. I guess if you wanted to, you could leave it off, but I think it's one of the charms of the figure by including it in place. Then, of course, you're going to take your peg, you fit it into the provided hole, snap that in place, and now you got Junkyard with a much cooler head sculpt. In case you missed it, we can bring back in the original head sculpt so you can see the difference between the two. Colors are about the same. The eyes are about the same. This actually has a more slightly squinted eye. But man, those head sculpts are fantastic. The hat that he has, by the way, is not removable in either one of the cases. As for the rest of the figure's details, though, he's very brightly colored. Harking back to the original color scheme of the Playmates Junkyard, so there's not really much that's differently done here, although the sculpting is much more advanced here with the stuff that we're getting from Super7. And of course, the figure does have much appreciated additional articulation that wasn't there before. The figure has, from what I can see, coveralls. Coveralls are nicely done in more teal color. In fact, actually, like looking at the color scheme here for Junkyard, it really evokes all the colors you'd expect to see sort of in the 90s time frame. The bright pinks, the bright oranges, everything back in the 90s. Those early 90s were very, very bright. And of course, like, it does really look good on Junkyard. I really also like the little touches that they've added, these little splatterings. I can't tell whether that's actually supposed to be toxic waste, but it just brings a little bit extra personality to the figure. The figure, like I said, already really has a lot of cool personality. I like the little touches also of adding the Band-Aid on the end of it. He's got a little wrapped up section on the end of his tail. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff to look at here when it comes to Junkyard. Now, looking at his articulation, though, the head's going to be on a ball joint, so of course it does move back and forth. You can have the head, you can have the head looking up. Let's not remove Junkyard's head in the process. Pop the head back into place. Like I said, the head does go up, it does look down, and you can rock it back and forth as well. Now, the upper torso is going to be on, it seems like only just a swivel. There's no up and down ball joint. And unlike Toxie that we looked at before, which we can bring back in Toxie that had the crunch in the abdomen area, Junkyard unfortunately doesn't have that. I mean, some sacrifice would have to then be made for an already stellar-looking sculpt. It's probably one of the reasons why they didn't put the crunch in there. So he only has just basically a swivel in his waist. The arms do rotate all the way around. That's the same on both the sides. You can also as well take those arms and bring them out at 90 degrees. The figure has a bicep swivel. The figure also has a single hinge only in his elbow, but it also allows at least that point of articulation to swivel at his forearm. Hands rotate also all the way around. You can hinge those also back and forth as well. And then when we get down to the lower leg area, the figure is on ball joints. Actually, they're on ball hinge joints, so you can split the legs about that far. Take the legs for Junkyard, and they can in fact move forward, and if you could believe it, they can also move back as well, but only about that far. Figure has only just a single hinge in his knee. but it more isn't enough to rotate the lower leg. The figure has hinges in his ankles, and you can also rock it back and forth there. And of course, any figure that generally has a tail usually goes along with it some additional posability, and the tail, in fact, can also rotate as well. It does look good. Now, getting out of the packaging, to also be honest, he started to have already a little bit loose in the ankles. So with a figure that usually is like anything, it has to walk on its hind legs like this, I'm always worried that the looseness on the ankles will develop even worse over the time that I have the figure. For right now, he stands fine. In fact, I have him displayed along with Toxie. Yeah, I'm loving this line so far. I don't think I ever had Toxie growing up as a kid, but something seems to be telling me in the back of my brain that I had Junkyard at one point. Funny enough, though, I didn't find him at the junkyard. I found him actually at a garage sale, and I think somebody was selling it. Again, I'm only going by the memory that I'm having of this. I think it was about 50 cents. 50 cents. I didn't have any of the accessories, though, but something tells me I had Junkyard at one point. I figure kind of now, looking at the new articulated version that we get with Super7, I figure I still wish I had in my collection. You'll have to bear with me. I think I have to get myself some better reading glasses. It doesn't actually say, as any astute viewer would have noticed in the slogan sign, it doesn't say take a bite out of crime. It says take a bite out of grime. Of course, referencing back to slime and garbage and toxic waste. That being said, though, the figure is displayed here with a slogan sign in one hand, his braining bone in the other, and a head sculpt that's more akin to the original Playmates one that we got from the 90s. I really do like this figure. And in a way, I do feel bad that we are looking now at this figure second, because I can already tell you this is my favorite figure from the wave. Nothing slouching with the Radiation Ranger. I think that's the other figure that we are getting from this wave. Of course, he will be coming up in an upcoming review. But backing it back, though, to Junkyard here, what a great looking figure this is. I mean, it does really evoke the color scheme that the 90s went along with. Everything was bright. Everything was neon. I mean, basically, you could buy yourself a pack of neon highlighters, and that would be basically the same sort of wardrobe that we all wore back in the day. Well, most of us. Not all of us will admit that we were wearing neon colors, but Junkyard seems to be fine with the idea of wearing it. And boy, does the figure look fantastic. Lots of cool articulation points. He does have, again, the additional belt that was, I don't think, with the original toy, but something that comes included with this release. The only thing that's a little disappointing, though, about Junkyard is the fact that his anti-garbage gun doesn't properly attach the newspaper like it would have been in the original toy. There seems to be a hole there. There seems to be a peg there on the anti-garbage gun, but I can't figure out a way to actually attach the two. I know many of you are probably already saying, well, can't you just rotate the newspaper around and have it facing the other way? You can, but it doesn't even attach that way either. It just doesn't seem like the peg is properly large enough on the gun to fit then into the rolled up newspaper. How a newspaper, even rolled up, is able still to hold a nail. You would imagine the moment that thing got wet, the nail would just fall through and he'd have a soggy mess of a weapon. Either way, though, if you guys are interested and would like to get Junkyard and the earlier looked at Toxie as part of your collection, I did find this one again over at Entertainment Earth. You can click the link down below that will take you on over to the site for this specific listing. And also, while you're there, that link will give you 10% on anything that's currently in stock. What do you guys think of Junkyard? Let me know down below in the comments section. And have you ever had the original Playmates release of the Toxic Crusader Junkyard? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also, as well, if you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you're loving the fact that we are actually looking at the Toxic Crusader Ultimate figures, make sure, of course, you're coming back here on a regular basis, because, of course, we will be looking at the last figure, which I think, again, is Radiation Ranger. It's literally, like, right in front of me, and I can't even... I've got to get better reading glasses. But it's definitely going to be a lot more videos coming your way, guys. So, as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.